We're down to the final three NFL games of the season. On the NFC side of things, in the championship game, San Francisco takes on Detroit. While on the AFC side, Baltimore will face the Chiefs on Sunday in a doubleheader, which you can catch here on San Antonio Sports Star starting at 1. Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn has a ton of interviews. Second interviews, those the Seahawks, Chargers, Titans, and Commanders. Would you want them back? We discuss on Extra Innings with Pleasure. Welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Appreciate y'all stopping by, however you may be listening, whether it's 94.1, sasportstar.com, or if you're listening via our YouTube stream, at SA Sports Star on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment along. Bunch of people already in the chat. Appreciate everybody that's in there. Spurs tipping off right now as they're about to take on the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid. I'll keep you apprised of that throughout the weekend. But man, 3 NFL games left on the season. We got 2 on Sunday and then a couple of weeks and then the Super Bowl. And then, well, it's not until March 30th that we even get the spring league. It's going to be a lot of draft and what the future holds for a bunch of different teams. Among those teams are going to be the Cowboys and Texans that we talk about. But the Texans, we start with post-mortem on the Houston Texans because it look, I said this in the group chat. You can be as pumped about how well a season went that was unexpectedly good and excited about the future in the moment right when the game's going final and you're getting your teeth kicked in. It sucks. It's not great. It took me about a day to process what happened before, finally I could start looking forward to the future. But the future is bright for the Houston Texans, and CJ Stroud believes just that.
It's been a heck of a year. I think D'Amico hit on the nail. Our future's bright, man, but these type of losses suck. That's a great Ravens team over there, and they deserve to win. It's tough to just get embarrassed like that, but definitely, I think our future definitely is bright.
And it is. And look, D'Amico Ryans did a fantastic job in changing the culture of this team. And it's easy to see that, especially when you hear the leaders of that team, whether it's a CJ Stroud, whether it's a Will Anderson, D'Amico Ryans, like the culture within that organization has been changed. And yes, a bunch of people are on 1-year deals, but the Texans have the second most amount of cap space according to Spotrac. It's $74 million, second only to the Washington Commanders with $84 million in cap space. So all of those 1-year deals, they will be able to retain anybody and everybody that they truly want to. You also have to give it to Nick Caserio in that front office and the way that they've drafted over the last couple of years. I mean, this year alone for the Houston Texans was incredible with their draft capital. It was CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, 2-3 at the top of the draft. That is really easy to look at and go, yeah, man, that is a really easy way to say, man, that is a great draft. But it goes so much deeper than what they did with the first 2 picks this past year. If you look at it, nearly every draft class contributed in some way, shape, or form for the Houston Texans. You got Stroud and Anderson at the top. You got Juice Scruggs in the second round, who was vital on the interior of that offensive line. Tank Dell, before he got hurt, was probably the second best receiver as a rookie in the NFL behind Puka Nacua. Henry To'oTo'o was a brilliant piece in the linebacking core for him. Jarrett Patterson was starting at center for them and did very, very well according to PFF. If you look at those grades and how much they go by, Xavier Hutchinson has contributed as a wide receiver. Basically, when you take their 9, 10 picks, all but 2 contributed this year to the Houston Texans in some way, shape, or form. That's massive. And then you go to the previous season's draft, and once again, Derek Stingley Jr., John Mechie, Christian Harris, Damian Pierce, Tegan Quintoriano. Like, these are guys, Austin Deculus, that have contributed over the last 2 years, and even go back to his third year and Nick Caserio's first draft. Davis Mills, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan. Like, these are guys that they're finding in the draft that have helped to build and set the culture for the Houston Texans, and Nick Caserio deserves a lot of credit for that. I mean, the future is bright, but while the future may be bright, the future can be bright and it can also be daunting, because if you look at the Houston Texans, they've already released, everybody knows this, they've already released the upcoming opponents for next year's schedule for 2024. And it's part of a schedule, so it's easy. The schedule release and when they play certain opponents will be released in May. But the Texans, they've got their divisional opponents with Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Indianapolis twice. But their home opponents are the Lions, Bills, Dolphins, Bears, and Ravens. And then their away opponents are the Patriots, Jets, Chiefs, Cowboys, Packers, and Vikings. It is a much different schedule than the last place schedule that they faced this past season. So it will get very, very difficult for them. But at the same time, I mean, they've got everything that they need. Whether if they decide that they want to re-sign Dalton Schultz and won't be outbid, they can make that happen. Sheldon Rankins feels like an easy piece to talk about bringing back. Noah Brown was a very good piece, but do they want to upgrade and be more dynamic on the outside and bring in Mike Evans or something like that? Or do they want to incorporate on the offensive line and defensive lines and upgrade there? They have the flexibility, the cap space, and everything to kind of do whatever they want to do this offseason to help upgrade that team. And when you have the foundational pieces like a CJ Stroud and a Will Anderson, and you have the faith in your coach setting the culture like DeMeco Ryans has, man, it is a beautiful thing when you try to look past the sting of a playoff exit the way that they did. Look, I will give Baltimore their credit. That was a phenomenal team. And if they play like the way they played in the second half against the Texans, I would consider them the favorites to win the Super Bowl. There were times in that game I can't believe they never made it into the red zone, which they didn't, which is a feat in and of itself for that Baltimore defense. But I cannot believe that they did not record a sack in that game. They forced an intentional grounding at one point, but they didn't record an actual sack. And that is on CJ Stroud in terms of just being able to get rid of the ball despite all of the constant duress he was in. He was under duress nearly 50% of the snaps that he took, and it felt to me like they were rushing 7 and dropping 12. It was incredible the amount of pressure that the Baltimore Ravens defense created in the Houston Texans through the entirety of that football game without relenting. It was the most impressive show that I've seen so far this postseason. But what say you, 656 ESPN 210-656-3776 if you want to be a part, or you can also get us on the YouTube channel like McBurgeriates. Hope I said that right. Clowney making an impact on multiple plays was really a gut punch. Yeah, it was, but I mean, it was what it was. Between the money Clowney was looking for, him coming off the injury, and just him not being a Bill O'Brien guy. Look at the guys that Bill O'Brien chased out of town basically during his tenure with the Houston Texans. It's it's simple to see why the organization went through the hard times it did because Bill O'Brien put it on the precipice of that with the actions that he made as both a general manager and just an overbearing, overarching head coach that had too much control in all facets of it. Goldfinger123 says he'll see me in Dallas. Yeah, I think there's a couple of games I'm going to this upcoming season. Both of them road games currently, and those are going to be the Chiefs game because my best friend is a Chiefs fan, and also I will be going to that Cowboys game because I've never been to Jerry World in terms of watching a football game there. I'd like to do that. What say you? 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. You got a line, stay there. Your call is coming up right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. G Murph. Games in Arrowhead, baby. Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportsstar.com. Got some guys on the line, 656 ESPN, 210-656-3776. On YouTube, Gary Murphy says, what up, homie? G Murph checking in. See you in Houston for the Chiefs-Texans game. You will see me at Arrowhead because that game is a road game, G Murph. I'm going to Kansas City for that game. I've always wanted to go to a game at Arrowhead. Me and my buddy have talked about it since high school. So the opportunity to possibly do that this year, we're both really psyched about. And the fact that we both might be pretty good, also very, very intriguing. Um, it's going to be crazy. And I'm excited despite the difficulty of the schedule that lies ahead for the Texans because the roster and the things that they've done this year in terms of fighting through different adverse situations to keep themselves in this mix as a team that wasn't supposed to be in this particular situation is very, very intriguing. And I know some of y'all want to get in on the conversation. 656-3776, 656 ESPN 210, of course. We'll start with Drew. Drew, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, man, I was just back play this weekend. I don't care about all these haters about they're going to talk about Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or whatever, these idiots on the debate shows. They were all super impressive, including CJ Stroud. To me, he was the most impressive. I'll tell you why. In many ways, you got Jackson and Mahomes and Allen and even Goff and Mayfield. They're of one generation, right? These high expectation, high draft picks, right? And the cream of the crop, of course, is Mahomes. 6 straight AFC title games, multiple Super Bowl appearances and wins, and then Allen. I mean, he's like the bionic uber quarterback. He's the most physically gifted guy. I mean, Lamar. I mean, whatever. But this guy, he was throwing 70-yard darts in the wind. And I can only say this about him. He needs to get out of Buffalo. He'll never win there. Take a pay cut, go somewhere else. You're never going to win in Buffalo. But those guys are kind of set, right? Mahomes is the man. And then we had the other ones. We had Brock Purdy, we had Love, and we had CJ Stroud. And there's only one gunslinger among those two. I'm sorry to say. It's CJ, but he's also the most cerebral because I think even more cerebral than Brock Purdy. I mean, I think Brock Purdy's he's kind of like the avatar for his head coach, right? I don't think he's like the guy. So what I'm saying is that Love, that was a great game between Green Bay and 49ers, right? The 49ers, they're lucky to win. But, Love is driving down there. He has to just make a field goal. They got this unbelievable interference. Or was a holding play. They get another set of 4 downs. He's got 2 timeouts. He's on the 38 of Green Bay. He's on 38. He's just getting field goal range. He's got eternity, but then the pressure got to him, and he threw this stupid pass across his body to, even if he picked up the thing, was nothing. Instead of just throwing the ball out of bounds and resetting and saying it's a 4-down territory, we're trying to get to a field goal, right, to tie this thing up. And you look at CJ. he was under pressure. That's a Swiss cheese offensive line. They can't even run the ball.
To
right?
be fair,
They
it
don't
has
got any
been
runners.
since before the season started. They've been dealing with injuries on that offensive line all year.
He's one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL. And he didn't get a sack this time. And he was I don't know what happened. It looked like they had 13 men on the field. Baltimore, they're just rushing 4. Are they rushing 4? Like you said, are they rushing 4, dropping 12?
Like I said, it felt like they were rushing 7, dropping 12. It was the craziest defense that I had ever seen, and the fact that he wasn't sacked was a testament to him.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you got all that ammunition that you put forth. You have all that, and that we seem to have a very, very good GM. It seems like he knows what he's doing, and I'm just like, I'm so happy. I mean, I can't believe that we have this guy. He's a gunslinger. He's got an arm. It's not like that crazy Allen arm. I don't know where the heck that's from. You ever seen a guy throw 70 yards across his body downfield in the wind like that and the cold? No.
I mean,
he needs to get out of that.
Between Allen, Mahomes, and C.J. Stroud, they've all got a hose on them.
Yeah, but he's got to get out of that place. You're never going to win a Buffalo, man. Just get out of there, take a pay cut, do something, force a trade. They're just never going to win a Buffalo, man. You're just too good. How can you not win with that guy? He can run 50 yards down the field. He's like 6'5". He's like Ben Roethlisberger with athleticism and a real arm.
Well, the problem is, and I appreciate the phone call, Drew. Always great talking to you. The problem is that defense couldn't stop a cold, and the guy that they spent close to $100 million on, and Von Miller, produced 0 sacks this year in 14 games. You credit them, and this is, I think, where you have to, at least if you're going to talk Dallas Cowboys, credit him for not going in on the splash free agency deal, the big money deal that doesn't pay off when you're as close as you feel that you are, because it can hinder you at the way that Von Miller is hindering the Buffalo Bills, because they're dealing with a ton of injuries on that side of the ball, and by not getting any production, it's hurting them. Back to the phone, 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. Robert, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys, I just want to say thanks for what y'all do. Love listening to y'all on my way home from work.
Appreciate you, my man.
Wounds. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hello?
You there, Robert?
Yeah, 48 hours ago. 48 hours, we've licked our wounds. We're ready to move on and talk about what is the bright future of the Houston Texans. Starting at the top, we got our guy, DeMeco Ryans. I think we hit a home run bringing Captain Miko back to be the leader of the ship. I would love to see our man Slowick take another year as an offensive coordinator, get some pieces that he wants to hold on to, some pieces that he wants to bring in, and see what he can do. And then he'll have his pick of the litter next year or the following when he wants to go be a head coach. Stick around one more year, sir.
It's worked well for Ben Johnson up in Detroit. He was being offered basically the Carolina job and the Carolina job alone. And he said, no, I'm going to stick this out. And he is one of the hottest candidates right now.
Absolutely. So the next thing I want to talk about, man, free agency. I know everyone's talking about Mike Evans, and, man, I would love to see him in a jersey over here in Houston. But I'm going to be honest. I think we need to go look at some running backs, man. New York has shown that they have zero desire to sign Saquon to a long-term deal. Yeah, give this guy a 2-3 year deal and see what he can do with a quarterback that'll put him in a position to succeed, a coach in Slowick that's going to scheme him into positions to succeed. Our offensive line was in shambles all year. How many sets of 5 do we start? We need some depth in the offensive line, obviously, but I don't think attacking that in free agency is the way to go. We just
now, Robert, you got to be careful when you're talking about paying a running back, even if it's only 3 years. I love Saquon Barkley. Love him to death. I don't know how he fits into this system. And it is obvious that Dameon Pierce did not fit in this system this year, because the zone system is a completely different running scheme for a bunch of backs that are used to running power, and looking for that cutback is not for everyone. So you got to make damn sure, if you're going to spend money on a running back in free agency, that he is the type of running back that can contribute to the zone system.
100%, guys. I think what Saquon can bring to this offense, not only as a pass protector, allowing CJ to do even more things, allow those plays to develop down the field, what he could do in the receiving game would be monumental. I mean, it would open up the entire field for our offense.
Look, I'm with you, man. The future's bright. You got $74 million to play with in cap space. And there are a bunch of flashy places where you can spend that money. Running back,
Yes,
wide
sir.
receivers. I really think that they should beef up the interior of that defensive line. Re-sign a guy like Jonathan Grenard.
100%.
And really focus on the offensive line as well, because those are two positions that I think if you can stop the run and allow Will Anderson and Jonathan Grenard to kind of unleash, it allows so much more for the rest of your defense and not having to commit blitzers. And on the flip side of that, protecting CJ Stroud should be your utmost importance. Look what happened. Patrick Mahomes got destroyed by the Bucs pass rush in a Super Bowl when their offensive line was riddled with injuries. What did they do? They went out and spent all their money on drafting Creed Humphreys in the draft, signing Joe Thuney, bringing in Orlando Brown Jr. And by doing so, they gave Patrick Mahomes time. And by giving him time, it really didn't matter what his weapons were.
Great point.
I appreciate.
Hey, can I say one last thing?
Yeah, go for it, Robert. What you got?
I just want to say, man, family is family, man, but you get to choose your friends. My best friend Brian, if you're listening, brother, I know you're listening all the time. You're one of the greats. I love you, brother. You guys have a great week.
I appreciate you, man. Robert, thanks for the phone call. You're welcome back anytime here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 941 San Antonio Sports Star. When we come back, the Dallas Cowboys, they have their own conundrum that they're dealing with. They are running it back with a team that fell far short of expectations. The one question mark is Dan Quinn. But if he doesn't get fans, do you even want him back after what you saw in that game against the Green Bay Packers? We'll talk about with you next, right here. Eastside Ray, I see you on the line. Right after this on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 or sasportsstar.com. All right, new fun thing we're kind of doing. I guess we're worried about copyright infringements and stuff with the music. So basically, the mics and the hotkeys are basically in preview or they're being broadcasted to you guys through YouTube. Can y'all hear me? Just wondering if it's coming through this way during the break for y'all. Somebody had let me know, because if it is, there's a chance that I could talk to y'all during the breaks still. Apparently you can. Awesome. So can always continue the conversations this way in the break now, at least on my show, to where I can respond to comments, etc., etc. Appreciate it. Bye for being a part of it. Nah, shouldn't be any music or commercials, Fred. We're trying to cut those things out of the YouTube stream to avoid getting flagged because of the music. New things we're working on. It's a new day here, so hopefully this will be better for some reason or another. I don't know which one, but I do what I'm told. But good news. Coming back from break here in a few minutes, so looks like about 60 seconds. So yeah, probably a royalties thing, I would imagine. There's always "Hey, you've been flagged for this song or that song." It's like, so we're trying to cut that middleman. You won't be able to hear this, but it will be AJR's world's smallest violin. Fans, I want to know personally, as the Spurs lead the Sixers 35-34 going into the second quarter as the end of first quarter action. I want to know from Cowboy fans, though, Dan Quinn, a lot of second interviews. It's been seen the last 2 years, the fact that him staying or him being retained and not taking a head coaching job was a positive and a win for the Dallas Cowboys. And the fact that, you were able to keep one of the league's best defensive coordinators. The tenor seems very different after this loss to the Green Bay Packers in the postseason. And they are praying that he takes a head coaching job in this upcoming cycle, in which he's got 4 second interviews that he is partaking in, those being the Chargers, Seahawks, Commanders, and Titans. That was it. So there are 4 second interviews that he's going on currently. And I was wondering, because the last 2 off seasons, it has been, oh my goodness, way to go, Jerry. We've kept Dan Quinn for another year. Maybe he's a head coach in waiting if this doesn't work out with McCarthy. It doesn't feel like that's the case with Cowboy fans this offseason, after they laid an egg against the Green Bay Packers in the first round, in which Dan Campbell's defense not reportedly, but repeatedly got punched in the mouth this season by physical teams. It was Green Bay. It was Buffalo. It was San Francisco. It was the Cardinals. Is that on Dan Quinn? Is that on Jerry Jones for them not having linebackers? Is it on Dan Quinn for wanting to play with safeties at linebacker, which made them a lot better in a passing league against the pass? But obviously, there is some susceptibility there if the offensive line can get to that second level. What say you? 656 ESPN 210 656 3776. I want to know if you would be happy if Dan Quinn returned, if he doesn't happen to get one of these jobs this coming coaching cycle. Eastside Ray Ray's been on hold. Eastside Ray Ray, what's going on, my man?
Oh, no, man. It's been a minute there, Pledger.
It has been, man. How you doing, my
Yeah.
friend?
All right. Yeah, but the way I'm seeing about the Cowboys is like, if you keep Dan Quinn, okay, yeah, keep like the base of what you got. Because you have Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad man.
It is.
He's a bad man. And, but the thing that always hampers the Cowboys is Jerry Jones. Just like, just get out of the office, go back home, do what you got to do, and let the coach do that. And I know that Dak Prescott, as long as they do Dak Prescott, what he did when he was in college, how he could play like that, oh, man, because Pledger yourself too knows that if you put a college player in like that and try to change him, it's not going to work. Just
to be fair, Dak Prescott had one of the best seasons of his entire career this year and was legitimately an MVP candidate throughout the season.
Yeah, and then it just came to a big old stomping halt.
Sure, but is that because of the offense, or is that because Dak Prescott can't mentally perform in the postseason?
Well, he can. It's just, how can you say, it's like they hamper him in a certain way. It's like, we're going to call these plays and you can only do these. And, if they would have just let him play, oh my God, they could have done a whole lot better. But, that's what you call a Monday quarterback,
I hear you, Ray Ray, but look, it is easy to, think something different will help alleviate his postseason struggles. But we got the best we'd ever seen out of Dak Prescott this year. And here's the one constant with Dak Prescott. Despite he has been fantastic in the regular season, it was fantastic a couple years ago under Kellen Moore as well. But come the postseason, this is his fourth playoff game in his last 5 starts that Dallas had lost. And it's the fourth playoff game in his last 5 starts where he's failed to have even 90 yards passing in the first half. Against the Rams in 2018, he was 8 for 13 for 87 yards. Dallas was down 20-7 at the half. And against the Niners in 2021, he was 9 of 16 for 89 yards, and Dallas was down 16-7 at the half. Against the Niners in 2022 last year, he was 12 of 16 for 81 yards with 2 picks, and Dallas trailed 9-6 at the half. And this past weekend against Green Bay, he was 13 of 21 for 87 yards with 2 picks, one of which was a pick 6, and Dallas trailed 27-7 at the half. There is a constant theme.
Oh, Lord, you just gave him that Tony Romo curse.
I'm not giving him a curse. I am reading the statistics as they
like Tony Romo.
Sure.
Tony
like
Romo
you can call it a curse. I didn't put it on him. He is performing as such, Eastside Ray Ray. And as always, I appreciate the phone call, but as much as we had those conversations about Romo and if he could get it done in the postseason, we've seen him under multiple coordinators. We've seen him under different offenses. We've seen him in different schemes. one thing has remained the same, and it's poor starts in the postseason.
Yeah. And see, the same thing about that is that the Cowboys and Cowboys fans, their favorite thing is to say, and I'm a Cowboys fan, ride hard or die. It's the same thing it always says, next year.
Oh, it's your year.
Yeah, next year is our year.
I mean, that's the Cowboy handbook, my man.
All right, my brother. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I appreciate you, Eastside Ray Ray. Call back anytime, Eastside Ray Ray. I really appreciate it. 656 ESPN 656 3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. The Spurs, well, they're in a really good game so far in the first half against what is a dominating player with Joel Embiid, who is one of the front runners for the MVP. But is this a trend that we're starting to see over the last 8 to 10 games from the San Antonio Spurs and the bringing Trey Jones into the starting lineup? I'll discuss if the Spurs are low-key heading down the right path right now, at least in terms of where they started in the regular season. That's all coming up here on Extra Innings with Pleasure, plus your phone calls on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM and sasportsstar.com. Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM and sasportstar.com. Appreciate everybody for being a part of the show this evening. Still a few phone lines open if you want to get something off your chest, like Joseph. Joseph, welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure, my man.
Yes,
How you
sir.
doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm doing real good. Thank you, sir. Love your show. Like listening to it all the time. Anyway, no, what happened to Michael Parsons? Huh? Where was he at? He couldn't even make a tackle, couldn't do nothing. All he's worried about is sacks. What is that? He's a one-man team. We ain't got no linebackers. And then what happened to the guy that made all those interceptions? 5 or 6? Where was he at? No show. So what happened to our defense people? Yeah. He had the deal. And then
look, when they're running it down your throat, there's no reason to throw the football.
No, but other teams were throwing against them. Yeah, but that's true too, because we don't have a running game. I mean, a running tackle game. We can't defend the run.
Yeah.
Because Michael Parsons, he's worried about his sack, his own self-esteem to get his record.
And that's why getting the right coach in, Joseph, I believe, is so important. Because look at D'Amico Ryans. The Texans could not stop the run the last couple of years. And he instituted a whole new culture with that team and the swarm mentality. And it played out on the field to a team that transformed who they were as an identity. And I think the head coach has a lot to do with the team's identity throughout the year.
Well, not just that. We have to deal with Jimmy Johnson on the Cowboys. So where's our linebackers? He keeps the same. He keeps the same linebackers. Have a hurt neck, hurt vertebra. Now they're retired. He don't draft nobody. Nothing in the top picks. He goes for the whatever left over. You know, Jerry just needs to retire. Period. That's it.
I hear you, man.
You know,
the problem is
a bottle of Jack Daniels or something.
I appreciate the phone call, Joseph. You're welcome to call back anytime, but Jerry's not going to retire. 656 ESPN 210-656-3776. Vincent, welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure, my man. How you doing?
Pleasure, man. Good to hear from you. I'm just getting out of work, man. I turned on my car on my way home from Seguin, Texas, on the way to Converse, and I heard your voice, and I was like, man, I gotta give my man Pleasure a call. But while I was on my lunch break, I was reading up some articles, and I saw one about Lane Kiffin. One, yes, he did go to Buc-ee's.
Yeah,
he called it
first time ever.
First time ever. He said it was life changing. But since Lane Kiffin's on the subject here, he did retweet an article basically saying Ohio State spent $13 million in NIL. To get the current roster they got, which was Will Howard, the Kansas State transfer, Quinton Judkins, his own running back that he recruited, Lane Kiffin, is now at Ohio State. And then they got Caleb Downs, who was All-American freshman, the one who left Alabama. And then now they got junior.
Are you mad about that, Vincent?
No, I'm not mad about it, but is this the direction that we're
absolutely. CJ Stroud just donated to the Ohio State NIL fund.
That's what I was going to get at too next. The CJ Stroud just went ahead and did that.
Yeah.
Like these players are realizing like, hey, we got to give back. And so our universities can compete.
Well,
and go.
Kevin Durant's been doing it since before NIL, man. Like Kevin Durant's been giving back to the University of Texas, be it his shoes, his brand, or just donating money to the basketball program. I mean, it's been a thing. It's just now they can help the players individually instead of the program as a whole. And it's the way college football is going.
Now, do you see it shaping into a mega conference to where it's...
Dude, we're already in mega conferences. The Big Ten is almost 20 teams deep. So is the SEC. We're there.
And the ACC is just about to break up. And where do you see Florida State, Miami going, or even Clemson? Where do you see them going? The SEC or the Big Ten?
Big 12's got to make a play for somebody if they want to stay relevant. But we're already in the world of super conferences, Vince. That's a part of it. The rich will get richer.
Oh, yeah, man. Hey, pleasure. Hey, thanks for taking the call, brother. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Vince. 656 ESPN 656 3776. It's going to do it for me today. I appreciate everybody who called in. This has been Extra Innings with Pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow night.